Hello, everybody. Welcome. We'll get Instagram going here as well because we are that fancy. Cardinal Cast. I'm Lonnie Watson.
And I'm Jerry Mack.
Got Mr. Mack, principal here. We promised we'd talk about something specific today, which is very rare for us because I usually just blabber about anything and everything.
But thank goodness you remembered. Truthfully, I forgot that we had talked about this topic, and we need to talk about this topic.
Yes, lots of questions.
Yeah.
Cum laude system.
So-
We're fancy, you guys. We can say words like laud.
Just to freak you all out, we're not going to have valedictorians or salutatorians anymore.
No more vowels and
Starting
sounds.
this May.
So I want to talk about that a little
Okay.
bit. Like, why would we
Why would
ever
we do that? It's
get
a
rid of
tradition.
valedictorians?
We're losing the traditions.
There's no medal. There's no single person. And then we're going to talk about who's going to give the graduation speech. If there's no, we'll get to that as
Yeah.
well. So when I proposed this, it's been 4 years ago.
Yeah, so it's
since-
not new. This
No.
isn't a recent decision.
Nope. This was changed in board policy 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And when I proposed this, one of the first questions I got from a board member, which was more maybe of a statement than a question, rhetorical question on, well, isn't it known that valedictorians just seem to or perform much better at college and in the workforce in general? What do you think?
I need to stay out of this because I had a kid who graduated in one of these CHS years where I think there was 11, 12, or 13 valedictorians.
Oh, yeah, we used to have 12
It was
valedictorians.
ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So, yeah,
What would your thoughts be? And we're talking nationally, not necessarily Shattern High School valedictorians.
I think there's some, I don't know. I'm going to stay out of it. I don't
So
know.
there's a Harvard review study on this.
Okay. So this is actual data.
Actual data. This actually started this trend of no more valedictorian and salutatorian, like most trends do, started on the East and West Coast and has taken time to get to the Midwest. We are one of over 20 Nebraska schools that now go to a Laude system. So we are not the first by any means in Nebraska. We might be trendsetters in like the Class C arena with this. We usually are. I mean, I'm like, hate to
Right.
brush it off a little bit, but
That's
we
what
usually
Shattern High
are.
does.
We usually like we're not scared of change, and we watch things closely,
Yeah.
and so we might be a little bit of trendsetting in our Panhandle area, but this trend started from the East and West Coast. And a couple reasons this trend started. The first reason was very much that no matter how great of a valedictorian policy you have, there's little validity to it because kids in high school don't have to take the same classes.
Right.
So you could be running a 400, probably at the 300 hurdles. It's got to be one of the hardest races, doesn't
There
it?
you go. Yeah.
I never ran
yeah.
that. I tried the quarter mile a couple times. I think I puked every time. But you might be running the 300 hurdles or the 400, taking AP classes, taking this, and I'm taking something completely different. And then our GPAs are compared.
Correct.
So the first was there's very little way to have it be valid. The second reason was because of this Harvard study review on the fact that valedictorians and salutatorians, though amazing students, are not necessarily great predictors of life success. And part of that was very much when we put these policies in place, a lot of the kids that meet them are kids who meet all policies.
Right.
And sometimes our trendsetters and change agents in the world would surprise you.
Right.
Wouldn't necessarily be our valedictorians and salutatorians. The other thing that we thought of as a school is, you and I both know this, and you don't work with scholarships a whole lot, but you write a lot of letters of recommendation. How many scholarships do you know for 4.0 students?
0. And
There's not.
I can't remember if you corrected me once that you found one somewhere, but it has been 0 for a long, long time.
Right.
There's not a valedictorian scholarship.
There's not. Yeah. And specifically for if you are valedictorian or salutatorian, there's not a scholarship for that. So it just became kind of obvious to us watching and the people who do, and our system was tight.
Yeah.
Cheers to Linda Drinkwalter for putting together the tightest and most elaborate valedictorian and salutatorian point system that ever was created. And she was part on the team that when we decided to make this change, because The leadership team was hesitant to make this change because they had put so much time and energy into this policy. And we went back for years and looked at it, and it was coming down to grades in freshman classes, like FCS, health, PE.
Health class.
I mean, it got so intricate at what it came down to that it wasn't necessarily a good reflection of a top student. And then we have so many dang students that are so talented in different areas. I just don't know how you compare. I don't know how you compare the young man who's just super gifted in art and English to the young woman who might be a science and math stud, and they've taken different paths, but yet one of them gets to be your top student.
And then, gifted students taking classes they're gifted in.
Yes.
And high school allows for that. So I like your the analogy of the races with track and how different the path is or the race is for any two seniors. They just don't take the same set of classes, but there are some big differences. And before we talk about, because I want you to talk a little bit about, because you know the history, because you were involved with splitting hairs for a number of years, but I'm going to clear back, because I've been in the school district or a school long enough as a teacher and principal. So it used to be that it was just by GPA. And GPA, like how one teacher grades versus another, there's some differences there. But it was just simply, if you had an A in all of your classes, you had a 4.0 GPA, therefore you're one of the valedictorians. And I say one of, I think the 2005 class holds the record for the most valedictorians. I think it was 12. And we could ask, because I think Mr. Hensey that teaches in the district is actually one of those. And so I remember being at that graduation because Mrs. Gerard was another one that's in the school district. She was in that 2005 class. And I remember they would go up in pairs to give speeches. So they took one valedictorian speech and they split it into 12 slices. And the first two would come in, they'd say some lines each, and then the next two would come in. And it was just, that's when it became obvious. And it had been going on for a number of years that we'd have these multiple valedictorians. And there was a part of me then, and I was a teacher at that time, that said, well, at least you're not making losers out of winners. The kids did get 4.0 by all means. And it was Linda Drinkwalder was a big one, and the leadership team that said, this is just, it was getting crazy. It was getting out of hand, and she come up with a point system that looked at the numeric percentage grade, not just whether it was an A or B. And so there was a difference between you getting a 98% in freshman health class versus the kid who got a 96,
which are both A's,
in freshman health class, versus the kid who got a 93, which is also an A. And so there was a point system then that was developed, and that's what we've probably used for 10, 12 years. I'm kind of guessing a little bit. Maybe it's been longer than that, to help dial in the one valedictorian and the one salutatorian. And then what started to happen, and that was under my 10 years of principal, your 10 years as school counselor, is hair splitting. How close? Can you do you remember a little bit on how close these valedictorian versus a salutatorian was coming down to?
Oh my gosh. It would be to like the 100,000th of a percentile. I mean, we're talking about like
3 decimal places.
0.004 opposed to 0.0036.
So we literally are talking about going back to freshman year. I remember you giving that example of the kid who got a 96 versus the kid who got the 97 or 98. That was the determination of a valedictorian. And so we knew we were giving the medal to the kid with the highest overall percentage scores. But then what came about was we started offering more and more elective classes. We really started pushing the applied arts and fine arts and tech schools and all these different things. So all of a sudden, the valedictorian system favored the college prep and not the tech prep, where some of the very successful careers were coming from.
Absolutely.
It just wasn't. And here's the line I kept going back to, is just, in the end, yes, you're recognizing one or in a second salutatorian, and I get that. And I'm not for handing out a participation ribbon for everyone. I get it. But at the same time, you're making losers out of winners. It would be different. I'm way okay with first place, second place if it was the same race. Yeah. And it just wasn't the same race anymore.
It was not. And it can't be. And that's a huge reason why the college goes by a Laude system.
That's what sold me was when you were talking about scholarships. They don't look at that.
No, they don't. And how many schools have done away, and with this doing away of Val and Sal, we completely have done away with class rank. Because I will tell you right now, a kid in this graduating class, because they are so outstandingly special and academic, I don't think we have pumped them up enough on how, and we will at honors night, how special this class is and how high their test scores. They would not be in the top 25% of their class with a 3.82 GPA. A 3.82 GPA, guys. I didn't sniff that in high school. I wasn't even in that room. I was not invited to that party.
Right.
And you would not be in the top 25%. Yeah. So not only did we think, and the school board agreed with us that we were making losers out of winners, but we were harming students' scholarship potential by ranking. Because if you have a 3.82, but I can't check the box that you're ranked in the top 25% of the class, you are immediately out. But if I can check the box that we don't rank our students against each other because they're not all running the same darn race, you're still in. Yeah. You're still in. So it was a no-brainer to me. Absolute no-brainer.
It really, and I thought it would be because it's such a traditional thing, I thought it would be a harder pitch for the school board, but I remember when you laid it all out, and we had the leadership team and other people involved in writing the policy and what it came up with, which we'll share with you here in a little bit, but it was obvious to the board as well. There was very little, I mean, they kind of held out to get some feedback for another month or two, but you could tell right away there was support for it. It's just times have changed, and if we're going to give students more opportunities for scholarships and more opportunities for after high school, this was the right thing to do for students. So
absolutely, yeah. And you touched on it, and I just wanted to kind of jump in a little bit. It favored, because we started to make students take some AP classes to be Val and Sal, and so it kind of favored and it took away from CT. Another thing is if a student would choose to take a class up at the college, it could harm their chances of being valedictorian and salutatorian. So then they were not taking opportunities that they had the right to, because it just got complicated. Right. And in some cases it could help, because we don't have the same grading scale as the college does, and those classes are kind of a free block opportunity to go take classes. However, it just got complicated because it would affect the overall GPA, and that's not not the overall GPA, I'm sorry, the overall Val and Sal ranking. Yep. And we just didn't think that the kids should have that opportunity without having to think, oh man, I'm making a mistake by doing this opportunity that I really want to do.
And our data in Infinite Campus still truthfully would allow us to rank students. But there again, it's just how valid is that information? It's just not useful anymore because the courses are not the same. So, right. Yeah. So instead of, the Val Sal, I'll be honest with you, because I was that kid. I would not have been invited to the 3.8 room either.
No one's inviting this gal to that party.
No. We go to college, and it's the first time I'm around that system, that Laude system, and I'll just speak for this hick that I still wasn't invited to that. So I didn't know what those were. I'd hear these words up there, but at graduation, I don't know what a magna cum laude or a summa. I didn't even know which one I was ranked higher than the other, because I was never invited to those rooms. So
that is
so the way it falls now is students are going to land in one of 3 pools?
Yes.
To be recognized at graduation?
Yep. And we did a ton of research. This is where the leadership team got together with the two of us after the school board said, yep, we'd like to see a proposal. And so we went forward with the proposal. We did a ton of research about schools across the nation and what they use for their cum laude system, what schools in Nebraska specifically use, and what colleges use. High schools are usually a little bit harder to get into honors than collegiate. Usually if you're about a 3.5 or higher in the collegiate level, the high schools have trended a little bit, not much. They were like 10th of percentages here talking, but a little bit higher in that. So a lot of thought, a lot of research, and we took everybody's consideration of what they did. And I think our proposal, our leadership team came up with great scales. So we've got 3. The first to get any honors at graduation, and by honor means a visual honor of tassel. Cord. Sorry. Tassels go up here. Cords go around your neck of a cord, is a magna, or I'm sorry, just a cum laude. And then the second level, the next level would be a magna cum laude. And we're still going to honor our 4.0 students. So our 4.0 students have always gotten honored with a cord at graduation at Chadron High School. And that's always been a white cord. And they will get special recognition, both at honors night and hopefully again at graduation. I really like that because a 4.0 is very important to us as well.
And that's summa.
And that's a summa cum laude. So they're still going to get honors. So cum laude, to get any honors at graduation, as far as we're going to honor everybody because they all rock and are invited to our party. But as far as a cord would be a 3.667 to a 3.832. Do you see how intricate this gets? This put so much time and work to put this in.
3.667.
3.667.
Thousandths of decimal
Thousands
places.
to a 3.832.
Okay.
To get, and I'm reading this right off the list because I can't remember this quite yet. Magna cum laude would be the second level of honors. So up and honor a different color cord will be a 3.833 and a 3.999. And I want to stop and think about this. So a kid from a 3.667 to a 3.999 at Chadron High School has never gotten any sort of honors before.
True.
For their GPA. Never. We have never recognized them at honors night for their amazing academic work. We have never honored them or recognized them at graduation. And this will be the first year that
any of those
That's kids good. Who have, I mean, to get a 3.667 or higher to a 3.9 at Chadron High School, you have busted your butt.
Yeah.
And we will honor them at honors night and at graduation with their cords. We will hand them out at honors night and they will get to wear them. And those kids usually don't get to wear anything. I'm pumped about that.
Yeah. Well, part of me is like, do you remember 4 years ago? Because I don't. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I remember the talk that the leadership team and you, and I kind of sat back and let this be developed. Do you remember why the break, like it seemed to me 3.667 came more obvious than the 3.8 something? Do you remember how those were developed? It had something to do with the percentiles or... I mean, there's a lot done to get that percentage number on there, but I don't remember the details in that.
I don't remember the exact details. I know that between our numbers and our percentiles and trying to get around the top 20% of kids and those, you're putting on me the spot.
So, because it ended up being, it'll roughly be the top 20% of students typically would fall into those GPA categories. And then there was just a lot of talk about where that next break, the 3.832 or whatever it was going to be. And I can't remember. I wasn't in all those committee meetings with the leadership team when they were, but there was a lot done with that to come up with that. But
a ton done.
And then the other thing, and I know you're getting to it, is what it left. It left, so the only other category, which is the top category, the summa cum laude, is straight out 4.0.
Never gotten anything less than an A their entire high school career.
Whatever courses you took. And so we don't have does it have to be AP? It's just whatever you took. Is that true?
It's minimum of 4 credits advanced core coursework.
Advanced,
yes.
Which is a little softer wording than
we used to have. It's a little softer wording. Our AP, our 4.0 kids do take our AP classes. We don't have a single one this year that hasn't. However, we have a lot of advanced coursework that doesn't necessarily fall in the lines of an AP coursework. I mean, I'm just even thinking about like trigonometry and math and some of our science classes. You guys, we have advanced science classes and physics, anatomy and physiology. Yeah. And I know our core area teachers, and we had representation from each one, had what defined their core or advanced coursework. So you can't be a summa cum laude at Chadron High School without taking some pretty darn tough classes. We just didn't label them or force them to be AP because some years our AP classes don't always make.
Right.
If we just don't have enough kids that are interested in AP biology, which has been the case for the last couple of years, it doesn't make. Or if AP literature bops below 10 kids, we might offer it every other year. Right. So we decided not to tie it necessarily with AP, but that we have a lot of advanced coursework we'd be okay with.
Now, and I let the senior class sponsors, which includes you're one of those, come up with the colors for the cords. So do you recall what?
We're gonna have a red, a silverish color, and then a white, which is traditional. And that saves our gold cords, which would always be for our national honor Society kiddos.
Correct.
So
And those are the only, and I take heat over this and just
yes, listen closely.
aim at me if this
Yes.
is your issue, but we only allow those cords worn at the Chadron High School commencement exercises. Because here's the deal. They get cords for donating.
What if I give blood? Can I wear my cord?
I know. They get red cords for that, and I love it. I really
Can't wear
appreciate
it.
that. Not during the ceremony. Wear it for pictures outside afterwards, before, by all means. And we really appreciate that you're donating blood, but it has nothing to do with, we're celebrating the high school, the end of the high school academic career. I mean, that's what these awards are for. And donating blood isn't number one. It had nothing to do with high school, and it had nothing to do with academic.
What about my blue FFA cord?
I know, and I'm a huge FFA fan.
You
big
even
supporter.
have your FFA jacket.
I still have
What
my
are you being
FFA
so
jacket. It
mean?
doesn't fit. So that's another one that it's not. It's an activity, and so it's you're recognizing an activity during the academic celebration, and so it just doesn't fit what the program is. So by all means, put those cords on if they still hand them out for pictures before and after. But during the ceremony itself, we really want to make sure that we are highlighting the end of this academic process and celebrating the Chadron High School diploma. And so that's why we tie in National Honor Society. You might go, well, that's an academic achievement is what puts you in, and then there's more rigor even on top of that. But it's academics that get students into that. So it's still going to be the National Honor Society for gold cords, and then we're going to roll into the white, a silverish, and I'll just say a red.
Yeah, an off red to not be quite as red as our. And it took a lot of, Mrs. Berry gets some big kudos because it took a lot of sampling of cords to decide what goes. Because when you have two colors of graduation gowns, it gets kind of hard. But
And just because you're on that topic, we have red gowns and we have black gowns. Traditionally, the ladies will wear red and the guys wear black. There's nowhere is that written. Do you have to wear those? I mean, yes, I'm picky about what graduation looks like. If you're a girl and you want to wear black, we've had it. If you're a guy and you want to wear red, by all means. But we just have those two colors for gowns, and it's just so that the ceremony looks good. I still want it to look good and
absolutely
be something that's special and good for those that are attending to really see the accomplishments and honors. So this will be the first, and last year was the COVID year, but that was actually the last year of the salutatorian and the valedictorian, and so we did those virtually with
great speeches.
as part of the video and
Grace
got their
and Lauren
speeches.
gave great speeches.
Yeah.
I loved them. They did wonderful.
And I remember telling them, you're the last valedictorian and salutatorian at Chadron High School, as far as we know.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty
going to
special honor. So who will speak next year or this year?
That is a good question.
So here's how our policy is written. Any senior graduating, I'm reading straight from it so I don't mess this up. Any senior graduating cum laude or higher, so with an honor, with a academic
Any
cord,
of those three categories.
any of those three, can submit a 3 to 5 minute speech to the high school principal.
Yep.
Would be Mr. Mack. Speeches will be reviewed and ranked by a committee of teachers and senior students. The faculty council and non-applying representatives from both senior class officers and senior student council officers will be part of that group. They will go over these speeches without knowledge of the speech authors. So that'll be something that we remove before they go over these speeches. The top summa cum laude and the highest ranking remaining speech will be selected. So we will have one of our, it was very important to our committee that one of our graduating 4.0 students will be a graduation speaker. Because these are the kids, you guys, that it comes down to maybe 5 or 6 of them that I'm splitting hairs with their percentiles in classes to find out who the Val and Sal is, which isn't necessarily indicative of anyone being a better student than each other, just that they got some higher percentages in maybe different classes. But one of those kids with a 4.0 will be a speaker. And then another student who submits a really great speech will be a speaker.
The next best speech.
Yeah, and that is pretty cool because that's a student that has that 3.667 or higher. It could be another summa cum laude, a 4.0. It could be a magna cum laude, or it could be a cum laude. But all of the honor students will have a chance, if they really do want to speak at graduation to their class, to submit a speech. It's a lot more work for you and me, but...
Well, and what we know is some students don't want to speak.
Yes.
And truthfully, I've had years where a valedictorian or a salutatorian, they don't feel comfortable, they don't want to, they end up doing it, and we've done pretty good.
I've had students who I know self-sabotage to not
Yep.
be Val or Sal by getting a lower grade so they didn't have to speak, you guys. So, or a lower percentage so they could get out of the runnings. I've had kids behind closed doors. I never ever divulge their names, say, I will not do that. And I don't want to do that. And I need to know how to not do that.
And so we're talking about the summa cum laudes. One of those for sure will be a speaker. Is this a fair statement? Most years we have about 3.
Yeah.
Three,
That's
4,
probably average.
maybe 5 on a.
Yep. I think my highest in 7 years was 7.
Oh, was there that
6
many?
or 7.
Okay.
And my lowest was just 1.
Okay.
We've had just 1. We've always had 1 since I've been here, a 4.0 student. So, but yeah, usually it's around 3 or 4 that it comes down to splitting
3
hairs.
seems like a common number. I can recall a couple of those classes, and I always feel bad. Like that third one was 4.0, and we just, we got a white cord, and truthfully, that was something that we started somewhere, and I think when you and I were in our positions we're in now, because you need to do something a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But, I don't remember all the details on that one, but
and something we just started 2 years ago is having them. 2 or 3 years ago, having them stand at the actual graduation ceremony for those who can't make it to honors night to see like the visual representation of the whole gym. I thought that was powerful. You added that in. I really like that.
Do you know the story behind why I added that?
Yeah,
in?
No, not the whole Cardinal cast doesn't need to know the story. No, the story was that
my doings.
It gets pretty complicated.
Oh, yeah.
On just figuring all this out and where kids. And I missed a kid at honors night to get a chance to honor them.
I missed a kid at honors night calling their name out as a 4.0 recognition.
I missed them on the list. And so we thought, well, how can we make sure everyone in this dang school knows that this kid has deserved this honor? And so you added the standing, and I thought that was pretty cool because they usually get a standing ovation.
Yeah, and it was number one, honors night is parents, for the most part. I mean, there's some grandparents come, but all of those people are also there at graduation plus another 1,000 or it's just, it's a bigger recognition. And so once we put it, it's like, oh, that's a no-brainer. We've kept it in each year.
It was pretty powerful.
But it all started with a mistake of just forgot to announce a kid's name and didn't even catch it that night until parents were strong and brave enough to call and say, hey,
I think my kid earned that. And it's like, yes, absolutely. So
we've stumbled around. So the speeches, that's going to be new. We've never done that before, and I'll be curious how many of them want to provide a speech.
I am too.
But at the same time, I think some will, and it's going to be neat to have choices where we have committees of staff and students who will select the speeches without knowing the author of the speakers. And so we're anxious to see how that works. And again, we'll see how it works, whether we need to make changes for the next year, but I think it'll work. We'll just wait and see. And all of this said, I know we're talking about the graduation ceremony and the graduating seniors. There's still the honor roll. And the honor roll is for all Chadron High School students. Well, in fact, maybe in the other schools too, but we still have there's still the honor roll piece where students get recognized each semester.
And that actually should come out, I'm hoping, in this next, knock on wood, our first semester. It takes a couple weeks after the first semester ends, so usually I can get it to them at the end of January or mid to late January. That should be coming out in the paper too. And we have silver and gold honor roll. 3.0 to 3.65 is our silver, and then our gold is that 3.66 or greater for gold honor roll. And that's always stuff I always tell kids, I don't care if you're a freshman or sophomore, put that on your resume.
Yeah.
Because when they ask you what academic honors, well, I was gold honor roll, freshman, sophomore, whatever year. So
I just got through speaking with a freshman class. I got to spend all 90 minutes as their speaker, and we were talking about your resume. Your resume is more than paper. Your resume is the recommendations and references you're going to get from people while in high school. So therefore, starting as a freshman, you need to be thinking about your resume. What are people going to say about you come graduation and scholarship time?
So I think next week I want to touch on, and I probably don't this week because we had enough of this kind of information, but I think next week I want to talk about a little bit about Kiwanis Honors Program.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
And actually, I'm going to lie about that. Let's wait a couple weeks. I just got invited. Mrs. Bryce and I got invited to the Kiwanis meeting in 2 weeks where we're going to finalize a date for the Kiwanis Honors Program. And that's for all students, 9th through 12th. And we're going to finalize what academic honors and some activity honors that they want to honor on that afternoon. And so be on the lookout. Maybe in 2 weeks, Cardinal Cast, 2 or 3 weeks, we'll get a chance to share that with you.
It's usually in April, mid-April or something in there.
Yep,
so.
usually a Wednesday or Thursday at mid to end of April. So,
and that's neat because it's a different organization that comes in to recognize students, and we get to observe and help celebrate there as well. But so that's appreciated.
Last thing I want to say on the selection of the speakers at graduation, once again, that was vetted by what has been done and what has worked for other schools across the nation, particularly Nebraska schools that have moved to this before us. So we did a lot of time and research in contacting other schools to see, since they removed rank, what has worked really well for graduation speakers, because we love when our kids speak at graduation. It is, I'm sorry, Mr. Mack, you do a great job, but it is by far the best part of graduation.
People don't believe me when I say it, but public speaking is like, that's one of my fears.
You're good at it.
You just do it.
You're good at it.
But when a student gets up there, I've learned I keep tissue in my pockets. You never know how it's going to come out. It's always special, though, and hearing them talk about their peers and their teachers is just, those are the best moments of graduation ceremonies.
Absolutely. So that's a lot of information for one Cardinal Cast.
It was, but it was timely to start talking about this as a reminder to people that the ceremony does change just a little bit on how the recognitions will happen. And real quickly, just kind of wanted to make a reminder that February 16th is a teacher work day. That's their superintendent, with the support of the board, has added, and this is Department of Education in Nebraska, has encouraged schools to find a few days where they can kind of just allow kids to stay home and teachers to have time. It's just been our year, and I was trying to explain this and talk with parents last night, and I was visiting with administration from another school at a basketball game last night. Our year has really gone pretty well.
It really has.
I always have to remind myself to say that. It has gone pretty well, but it's just been such a different year with the COVID and the putting lists on who gets to watch games versus who doesn't, and the position that puts us in, and mask wearing, and the protocols inside the school. And even yesterday we had to make a change in school with breakfast serving times, and because we're doing these staggered dismissals. It's just been a lot more work. And Department of Education recognizes that and encouraged just a little more time off and time for teachers to do some work. In other words, all of the absences this year, the exempt absences due to quarantines and isolations and just symptoms, that has piled up on the teachers a little bit to take care of students who are constantly gone, more than normal years or most years. And so it gives them a work day to kind of get caught up and get some communications out. So we'll take off. We took off a day January 22nd. The next one is February 16th. The calendar on the website doesn't show that yet. And if I remember, I will go have some input to see if we can switch that. But the Monday, February 15th, it was already a scheduled in-service day for the entire Panhandle.
I'm so jealous. Kids get like a second spring break there.
We do I'm excited. We do a school safety presentation. Hopefully we can share some of that on some upcoming Cardinal Cast. So we get a school safety presentation that day that I'm excited about on the 15th. And then the 16th is just a back off. We will have a few meetings in the building, but it's going to be to give teachers just some time for a work day. So students get that 4-day weekend they'll get off February 15th and 16th. And then the third day that we're going to take off is in March, like March 26th. And again, I hope to get in and change the calendar you see online. But so just reminders, those are days of no students, but the teachers and staff will be coming into the school. And I know they've got some activities. We had one of the clubs came in and they were doing some work or something. It really helped them too to buy time in a week. So kind of excited for that. And the other thing, I got to be honest with you, just because it's been a weird COVID year and all the different protocols, and it's almost sad, but this is our last week of home events for winter activities. We have speech. Our home speech invite is Saturday, not open to the public. We have our last JV varsity basketball games will be Friday night. The last freshman home games are Thursday evening, and let's see. And then it's just like already this weekend begins. They have now a sub-district for wrestling. So we're talking about wrestling sub-districts and districts already within the next week. And that means girls sub-districts and districts basketball it's just in ways it's encouraging that we're getting through the school year,
They
and
had
it's
a full
exciting.
season. Yeah.
It's exciting to get this far, and we haven't had we haven't lost, missed or postponed or canceled a lot of games like we've heard. But just to kind of get through it, and it's a reminder the school year is really it's kind of going by.
Absolutely. I think it's amazing that we have gotten kids through this many activities, and I know
Yeah.
it's not perfect, but I'm just
Yeah.
blessed they get to participate
Yeah.
and get to compete. Man, that's awesome. Other thing is we are hosting the ACT that would be at the high school this Saturday. I think there's only 11 kids registered, so this doesn't partake to a huge amount, but I will be at the middle school for those kids while the speech competition is going on in the high school. That date always conflicts with a national ACT and the speech meet, and we still want to offer it as many times as possible just because kids need the scores. So this isn't a big group of kids taking it, but the ACT will be at the middle school this Saturday, normal time, be there before 8 a.m., 7:45 with your ID, your printed ticket, and a calculator. So I'll say one more ACT thing is the only other Saturday national ACT we will host will be in April. After that, there's a June and July one that they sometimes will have up at the college, but that there's no guarantee that there'll be a Shadron offering for that. If you're a junior, however, we will take that, and we'll talk about that day coming up here soon. All juniors will get a free ACT on April 7th. So
State testing.
Yep, the national April ACT that you pay the $50 for. No reason to juniors to sign up for that. That would be if a senior needed one more score, or a freshman or sophomore, which I'm encouraging now. I used to not, but I'm like,
why not?
sign up, give it a shot. You don't have to let anyone even know what your score is, but get the anxiety of taking under your belt. So if anybody wants to, that would be the last Saturday test date. And juniors, we got you covered. We've got you in school on the 7th to take that test. So
Very good.
that's all I have for Cardinal
The
Cast
Laude
this week.
system.
Laude.
If you have any questions, call the school counselor office.
Yeah, I'll talk to. I will. I'll talk to anyone about it. There's been lots of good
Yeah.
questions about
It does remind me I should probably post. I can post the policy on
Yep.
the school blog, just so you can read. It's easier than digging through policies anyway, so you can see it. But excited to give it a try. Excited to recognize more students the way we should.
I think our community is going to absolutely love it. More names in the paper and more cords around the neck is a good thing at graduation when they have honors to do with them. So, all right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.